Begin today the Gemara on Daf Nun Hey, right at the beginning of the Yamud, Habala Behema. This is actually in the middle of a Braise that the Gemara is quoting before. But it starts here in New Inyan, Beniget Habala Behema, one that has a relation with a Behema, which was mentioned here in the Mishnah. And in the case of one that has a relation with a Behema, we'll see here different pratim about this. Let's see. So the Braise continues here and says, Haba ala Behema, one that has a relation with a Behema, Ben Kedarka, Ben Shaloi Kedarka, whether in the normal manner or in the abnormal manner. So here we're talking about a man that has a relation with a behema, and va'isha hameviyas a behema aleha, or a woman that has a relation with a behema, ben kedarka or ben shaloi kedarka, normally or abnormally chayiv. In both cases, they're chayiv. That's the brayse. Okay, so now here the Gemara brings on Mayraim that spoke about this, and it will ask from this brayse on what they said. Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda said about this halacha, Be'isha shnei mishkavos. By a woman that has a relation with an animal, because the pasuk the Gemara quoted before, in the end of Dalet Amud Beis, mishkavei isha, so it uses the plural term regarding a woman. So therefore we say that if a woman has a relation with an animal, so then whether it's normal or abnormally, the Isra applies. However, according to Rashi's pshat, what the Gemara is saying here is a man that has a relation with a behema. So over here, because it doesn't say mishkaveh by a man, so the Isser only applies if it's in the normal manner, as normal as you can call this. Okay, akapanim, it's mishkavechad. It's only one oifen in the normal manner, not in the abnormal manner. That's what Rav Nachman said. Rav Papa asks on this, that on the contrary, if you want to make a distinction between a man or a woman that have a relation with a behemah, the svara should be the opposite. Isha do orchehi, by a woman where this is more normal, a mishkav mechayev, so because it's normal, so if she has a relation with the animal in the normal way, so then for that she will be chayiv. Amidoyim achrine, but in another way, Loi mechayiv. In an abnormal way, she should not be chayiv. So dafka by the isha, even though it says in the Torah mishkavei, that's regarding a relation between human beings. But by the woman and the animal over here, the isra should be only if it's in the normal manner. Beheme de lavor chehi, but a man that has a relation with an animal, since this is completely unusual. So l'chayiv Allah, I'll call nekev and nekev. So over here, the chi of the isra should be on any opening, in any way, or normal or abnormal way. That's the question of Rav Papa. Now, this question of Rav Papa, according to Rashi's pshat, as Mefarshim may point out, the Marsha and others, it's very hard to understand what he's saying. It sounds like Rav Papa is making a statement that by a woman that has a relation with an animal, that's considered to be normal, ordinary. So therefore, over there, we should say that it's only in a normal way. By a man that has a relation with an animal, over there, it's abnormal. So over there, it should be, the chiyuv should be for in any way, any opening. Why by a woman is this considered to be normal, that she has a relation with an animal, and by a man not? It's very hard to understand this. So there are pshatim in Mefarshim. I did not see yet a good pshat, but there are pshatim in this. But in the simple pshat of the Gemara, it's hard to understand what it's saying. But the point over here is that we see that both Rav Nachman and Rav Papa are saying that there's a distinction between a man that has a relation with an animal or a woman that does. According to Rav Nachman, we say that by a man, he's going to be chayiv only, Rav Nachman said by a man is going to be chayiv only kedarkai, and Rav Papa said the opposite, that only by a woman she'll be chayiv kedarkai. But here now the Gemara brings the brayse that we just quoted in the beginning of the Yomid. It says the Gemara, Tanya, the loika tarvayu, the brayse that was quoted in the beginning of the Yomid is saying not like both of these opinions. We make no distinction. And the Gemara quotes the brayse again from the beginning of the brayse, Zachar ben Tesha Shana v'yoyim echad, that by a zachar, if one has a relation with another zachar, so then the age of the isser is only if this zachar that I had a relation with is 9 years and up. And then the Braise, as we quoted before, Habala behema ben kedarka ben shaloi kedarka, a man that has a relation with an animal, the isser applies whether it's the normal or abnormal way. And va'isha meviyas behema allow, the woman that had a relation with an animal, it's also ben kedarka ben shaloi kedarka. So we see there's no distinction between a man or a woman that has a relation with an animal, not like Rav Nachman and not like Rav Papa. Amalei Ravina said to Rave, he asked him the following shaila: Hamayre bezuchur mahu. By the din of mishkav zachar, if the relation was only mayra, the beginning of the relation, the beginning of the contact between one zachar and another, what's going to be the halacha here? So this halacha by mayra, when it comes to any of the arayas over there, the isser of bia, of relations, of marital relations, is even Maire, even if it's just the first stage. The question is, if by Mishkav Zachar that applies as well. So the Gemara explains, Hamayre b'Zachor, Mishkavei Ishiksiv Bei, do I say, second, this is the answer that he gave him. So Rava answered and he said, Hamayre b'Zachor, Mishkavei Ishiksiv Bei, that by the case of Mayre b'Zachor, you're going to be chayiv for this, and the reason is because in the pasuk where it speaks about the Isser of Mishkav Zachar, the beginning of the pasuk is Ve'Zachar le'Sishkav Mishkavei Isha. So it says in that pasuk the term Mishkavei Isha. So therefore from this I see that just like by any of the arayis, by a woman, the Isser is not only full biyah, but even just hara, the first stage is already Asr. So the same thing applies by a Zachar as well, that the Isser is only hara, even the first stage as well. Now the question is, Ella hamayre bebehema mahu. The shaila is by mayre by behema, what would be the halacha? Right. So regarding mayre bezachar, that's not a shaila because it says in the pasuk mishkavei isha. But the shaila is what we're talking about over here. Mayre bezachor, mayre bebehema. That is, if one has a relation with an animal, only the first contact is there going to be isra there as well. Amalei, so Rava answered that. So this is Rava answering. Before it was all Ravina that was asking his question. So Rava answers, Im eine inyan lahara d'chsive gabei achois aviv achois imoi. If the term that it says in the Torah, this term of hara, which is the first stage, it says it by achois aviv and achois imoi, and it's extra there. It's not needed there. Over there in the pasuk, the lashon is ervas achois imcha achois avicha loisa gala, and then the pasuk says ki es she'eroi hera. So that term hara means the first stage, this hara that we're talking about. And that pasuk is extra. So if it's not needed for there, and the reason why it's not needed is the ha iskish hara lahara de nida. Because the hara that it says by all arayis is compared to what it says by nida. In the pasuk by a nida, it says there the term of hara as well. It's mekoira hera. That's the pasuk that it says by nida. And the Gemara says in Yevamis that in the parsha of Arayis, in the end of the parsha of Arayis, it says as kol sheyase mikol te'evesael, one that does any of these abominable acts. So the pasuk there, so the Gemara in Yevamis says that from this we learn out that we compare the isser of all Arayis to each other. That's why it says it together. Mikol te'evesael. So I learn out that from Nida to all Arayis that the isser applies by Hara as well. So why does it say here again this pasuk as she'eroi hera by ervas achais imcha achais avicha? So because it's extra and it's not needed for there. Taneu inyan lahara de behema. So use that extra term of hara in that pasuk for the case of a person that has a relation with an animal. Well, this is a concept the Gemara says many times when you have an extra pasuk in one place, so it's not needed there, so it's going to be used for something in a completely different place. But the Gemara asks on this, Mechdi, let's see, why are we learning out from, why is it Torah writing it in a place, in this pasuk of Achais Imcha and Achais Avicha? Mechdi, let's see, Behema Mechayv Mrs. Bezdin he. One that has a relation with an animal is Chayv Mrs. Bezdin. So Lamali D'chsev Lahara Dida Gabi Chayv Krisis. Why is the Torah writing the Isser of Hara in a pasuk of Achais Imcha and Achais Avicha, which is speaking about a case of Karis? Lichteve gabi chayve Mrs. Bezdin. It should write it in a place of chayve Mrs. Bezdin. V'ligmar chayve Mrs. Bezdin, b'chayve Mrs. Bezdin. And I would learn out the halacha of mishkevei behema, or mishkevei behema we're talking about, from another case of Mrs. Bezdin. And the emes the Gemara is asking this question. It could already ask more simple, that let the pasuk write the halacha of hara by mishkevei behema itself. Why is it writing it in a different place? And you have to learn it out. And ain't Indian if you don't need it there, it should write it over here. But Akopana, the Gemara is asking, even if you're not going to write it in the place where we're talking about mishkevei behema, but it should at least write it in a place which is similar, a place of chiyuv Mrs. Bezdin, not in a place of chiyuv Kodesh. So the Gemara answers, Hoyel v'kulei kra l'drashahu. This pasuk we're quoting, Ervas achais imcha v'achais avicha leisa gala. That entire pasuk is extra. It's a pasuk in Parashas Kedoshim where it repeats the whole isser of this erva here that we're talking about, even though I already said it before in Parashas Achrei Mos. So the whole pasuk is extra, and the Gemara in Yevamis darshans this pasuk. So therefore, the whole since the whole pasuk is a drasha, ksivanami milsa de drasha. So it adds another detail that you're going to darshan here for the case of relation with the behema. So it puts it in here because the whole pasuk is extra. Rav Achtavoy Barami Rav Sheshes. Rav Achtavoy Barami asked of Rav Sheshes regarding Mishkav Zachar Hamayre ba'atzmai mahu. If one takes his own aver and bends it down in an oifen that he makes a contact with himself to stick in the aver inside the hole in the back himself, is there any issur in this? Malay. So Rav Sheshes says on this question, kavastan, you're annoying me with such a kind of a question. It's not physically possible. So what kind of a question is this? Amar Rav Ashi, so Rav Ashi said, Maiti boilach. What was your shaila? B'kaishi loy mishkachas lo. If the aver is firm, it's impossible. Ki mishkachas lo. When is it possible? B'mishamish meis. If the aver is not firm, then it's possible. So now, if so, it depends according to his opinion. The opinion that says that if one has marital relations in the isser of arayis, but the aver is mace, and then you potter in such a case, so hacha potter. So over here it's no different, you would be potter. But the opinion that says that you would be chayiv, hacha mechayiv tarti. So in this case, when a person does this with himself, he would be chayiv twice. Mechayiv ha-shoichev or mechayiv ha-nishkav. As we brought before in the Gemara, there's two different isurim, one for the shoichev and one for the nishkav. The Gemara before on Daf Nudal, this is actually according to the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel on Daf Nudal had learned out from two different psukim for the shoichev and the nishkav, and it would apply here as well. Oh, you may name it Rav Sheshes. The shaila was asked from Rav Sheshes. Oivid kechavim haba ala behema mahu. A case of a guy that had a relation with a behema. Now, what's going to be the halacha of this behema? The isser of having a relation with a behema applies by a guy as well. So the question is, the Mishnah said that by a behema you have to stone the behema as well. And what's the reason for this? The Mishnah actually said two reasons. First, the Mishnah said, in the Daf Nudal Amar Aleph, the Mishnah said that because this is a behema that a takola happened to the person through this behema, the calamity, the tragedy that happened here to this person, that he did this aveda, came through this behema, so you have to kill the behema. Another pshat the Mishnah said is that when this behema walks in the street, it's an embarrassment for the person that the aveda happened with this behema. He gets embarrassed by this behema. So the Gemara here now calls this takola and there's kolin. There's the calamity and then there's the shame. So the question now is whether this applies by a goy that had a relation with an animal. So Rav Sheshes said, so the Ibayis here is explained that they asked from Rav Sheshes as follows. What's the Ibayah? Takola v'kolin bi'inon. The reason why we kill the animal, although the animal seemingly did nothing wrong, it doesn't know what's going on, but nevertheless we say that the reason why you have to kill the animal is only in the case where there's two reasons that apply. One is takola, because the animal brought this takola, this aveda, for this person, and also kolin, it's bringing a shame to the person. So v'hacha, in the case of a guy, takola ikke, for a guy, there's an issa of arayas as well, that he may not have a relation with an animal, so there's an aveda that was done here as well. But kolin leke, the shame there isn't. Whether because by a guy he's not embarrassed by this, or because the Torah is not concerned about the embarrassment of a guy. We're not going to say that you give skill to the behemoth because of the embarrassment of the guy, and therefore you don't stone this animal. The fact that we killed the behemoth that was involved in this aveda, it's because it brought the aveda, it caused the aveda, so you have to kill the animal, even if there's no shame involved there. Rav Sheshes said to Nisua, your shaila that you're asking about this case of the behemoth with a guy can be learned out from the following brisa. It says in the brisa regarding a tree that's avodah zarah. Ma ilonois, if when it comes to trees, this is the ashera tree, which is an avodah zarah tree. So what's the halacha with the ashera tree? You have to burn it. Tisser fun be'eish. You have to burn the tree. So this is a tree. Shein oichlen vein shaisen. The tree doesn't eat or drink. Vein marichin. It doesn't smell. But what does the Torah say? Hashches sarif v'kola. Destroy it, burn it, get rid of the tree. That's avodah zarah. If this tree causes to serve avodah zarah, even though the tree has no fault of the tree, but nevertheless the Torah says destroy the tree. Since the tree is the cause for this aveda that happens through it. So hamasa is chaveira midarke chayim. So you have another person that would take away his friend from the way of life, ledarke misa, to a way of death. Alachas kama v'kama. Definitely he deserves this punishment no less than a tree. Okay, so now Rav Sheshes is saying, if the Braisa is saying this about a tree, so you could say the same thing regarding an animal. If a guy has a relation with an animal, even if there's no shame involved in this, it doesn't matter. But since this animal is a cause for a takola, for an aveda that a guy did with this animal, so if you have to burn a tree, definitely you should have to kill the animal as well. So now, based on this answer of Rav Sheshes, they asked him, Elamayato, but if so, a guy that is serving Avodah Zarah and he's mishtachve, he's bowing to his animal is Avodah Zarah, titzer umiktala. So it should become asa ba'ana, and you should also have to kill it. And we know that the halacha, seemingly the halacha is not so. Why is the halacha not so? So Rashi brings the reason we know that the halacha is not so, because when it comes to the psukim that speak about karbanis, what you're allowed to bring for a carbon, so you learn out from the pasuk mina behema that an animal that was served as avodah zarah cannot be brought as a carbon. If we're going to say that an animal that was served by a guy as avodah zarah, it's asa ba'ana for any yid, for anything, and it has to be put to death, you don't need a special pasuk to teach me that you're not allowed to bring it as a carbon. So the fact that you need that special pasuk means that when a guy serves an animal as a avodah zarah, it's still mutar ba'ana. You don't have to kill it, but why not? Based on the svara that you're just saying, if you have to burn an asheda tree, a avodah zarah tree, you should have to kill this animal as well. But the Gemara says, so out of Shesh's answer, you can't ask this question because we see that even by a yid, it doesn't become asar. Mi yikim midi, is there anything dil Yisrael lo yasar, that by a yid it's not asar, or lo yvikachavim asar, and by a guy it will be asar? Because by a yid, here this is actually where the Torah says the mina behema. By a yid, when he serves an avodah zarah, a behema, over there you have that pasuk mina behema that says that you're not allowed to bring it as a carbon. So from that I understand that it's not going to be asaba no, and you don't have to kill the animal. So if by a yid, when you serve animal avodah zarah, it's not going to be yasser. Definitely when a guy serves the animal as avodah zarah, it will not be yasser. So therefore it can't be true. But the Gemara asks on this, but maybe it should be. Yisrael gufei litzer. By a yid, when he serves an animal avodah zarah, it should be yasser. Midi the havaraviyah, and we should compare it to a case where a yid has a relation with an animal, and there the Torah says that because this animal caused this takala, this aveda, so we kill the animal. So the same should apply for a yid as well. The same should apply for avodah zarah. When a yid serves avodah zarah as well, that because the avodah zarah causes the yid to do an aveda, it should become asr as well. So what we should say the same thing b'negei to a yid as well. So Rashi here explains, we see from the psukim by karbanis that it's mashma that it's not chayiv to be killed and it's not asabano. That's why you need a special pasuk by karbanis to say that you can't bring it as a carbon. So no, we would say that in a case where there's eidos, clear eidos, then you actually have to kill the animal. Even by a yid, when he served it as avodah zarah, just like by Reviyah, when he had a relation with the animal, if there's eidos, you have to kill it. And but just like by Reviyah, there's also a pasuk for this. Rashi here brings, just like there's the pasuk mina behema, to say that an animal that served avodah zarah cannot be brought as a carbon. There's the pasuk over there as well in the beginning of Parshas Vayikra where it says mina behema, mina bakar, mina tzayin, and the Gemara darshans from there regarding an animal that a person had a relation with that it can't be brought as a carbon. Why do you need a special pasuk for that? If anyways you're supposed to put it to death. The answer is in a case where there's no eidos. In a case where the owner himself knows that he had a relation with this animal over there, you're not allowed to bring it as a carbon. So say the same thing about avodah zarah. If a yid serves an animal of avodah zarah, it should become totally asr and you should have to put it to death. Amar Abaye, so Abaye said there's a difference. Zeh kloinei merubeh. In the case of avodah zarah, there's a big embarrassment. V'zeh kloinei mu'at. In the case, again, Abaye said, Zeh kloinei merubeh, in a case where a person had a relation with an animal, there's a bigger embarrassment. V'zeh kloinei mu'at. And the case where a person had a relation, or again, where a person served avodah zarah, that is, kloinei mu'at. There's less of an embarrassment. So there's the ma'aseh. In a case where a person uses an animal to serve avodah zarah, it's an aveda. But you don't have this kind of embarrassment, like in a case where a person had a relation with a behemoth. It's such a despicable act, it's a much more embarrassing thing. And therefore there's a distinction between them. So the Gemara asks on this, but if so, going back to the brayso that we quoted before, v'harei ilanos, regarding trees that are avodah zarah, they ain't kloinan merubeh. The fact that these trees cause the person to serve avodah zarah, since it's only avodah zarah, so this is not on such a high level of embarrassment as you just said regarding an animal, and still v'amra Torah hashchei sara v'kala, and the Torah says that you have to destroy and burn this tree. So the Gemara answers, Abaye's distinction is not to relate to a tree, but balechayim kamrinon. we're talking about animals. The chas rachmana alayu. There the Torah has rachmanis on them, on these animals. Over here I say that the only time where the Torah says that you have to kill the animal as well is if it not only caused a yid and to do an aveda, but it caused also an embarrassment, and it's a very big embarrassment, like a revia, a relation with a behemoth. But in a case where it's just aveda zara, it's not such a big embarrassment. So there the Torah does not say you have to kill the animal. But regarding a tree is different. Any tree that causes a yid to do an aveda, you have to get rid of the tree. Over there's no compassion of the Torah on the tree, so therefore you cut down the tree even for aveda zara. Rava says a different reason. There's why by a tree and the animal are different. Why we say by an animal, or again, Rava is coming to explain actually the difference between avodah zara and having a relation with the behemoth. Why by avodah zara do you not have to kill the behemoth, and by mishkav behemoth, when you had a relation with the behemoth, you do have to. So Rava says, the Torah says, behemoth nanis ma'aveda taharik. Since the behemoth also had a pleasure in this aveda, it should be killed. By avodah zara, the behemoth is not having no pleasure in this aveda, so therefore it's not killed. So on this they asked Rava, but what's with a tree? When one serves avodah zara a tree, the ein nen in ma'aveda, the tree has no anah, v'amra Torah hashche sara v'kala, and the Torah says to destroy and get rid of the tree. So the Gemara answers again. The point is, b'balechayim kamrina. This whole distinction applies to animals. Chas rachmana alayu. Here we use this svara that the Torah has rachmanis on them. But when it comes to a tree, over there's no difference. It caused a yid to serve avodah zara. You have to uproot this tree. Tashema. So the Gemara goes back to the original boya that we asked over here regarding a case of a goy that had a relation with an animal. Do you have to kill that behemoth as well? So the Gemara brings that ayah from what it said in our Mishnah. So the first thing it said in our Mishnah, why is it that you kill an animal? Because of the takala, the fact that this animal causes a yid to do an aveda. Then the Mishnah goes on to say, davar acher, another pshat, shaloi tehei behema yiveres b'shuk. So you shouldn't have this behemoth walking in the street, and people will say, Zu hisheniska pleini al yada. This is the animal that so-and-so was stoned through this animal. So what is the davar acher? What's the second pshat of this Mishnah saying, and how is it different than the first pshat? So the Gemara understands. So don't you think the pshat of here is as follows? Mid the seifa takala v'kolain. In the seifa of the Mishnah, it seems to be saying that the point over here is when you have this animal that was walking in the street, and people are going to say, "Oh, this is the animal that so and so was stoned through it." So that is both a takala and a kolin. That means that people are going to say that this is the animal that caused the aveda, and it's also a very a big embarrassment for the person. That's what the davar acher is saying, meaning that only in a case where you have both takala and kolin do you have to kill the animal. So now if so, Reisha, what was the first pshat of the Mishnah? First pshat of the Mishnah was saying that even only a takala below kolin, even in a case where the animal caused a takala, a calamity, it caused an aveda without the embarrassment, you also have to kill this animal. Now, v'heichidami, what's a case where there's an animal that causes an aveda, but there's no embarrassment involved? If it's such a despicable act, why is there no embarrassment? So this is the first part of the first reason of the Mishnah is referring to this case of the guy that had a relation with a behemoth where it's an aveda, but there's no embarrassment involved. And the Reisha is saying, v'reisha hakamash malon. Oh, sorry, this is already the answer. Okay, so this is the question. So the Gemara says we can bring a raya from the Reisha of the Mishnah that even in a case with a guy, you also have to get rid of the behemoth just for the fact that it caused a takala. Answers the Gemara, loy, that's not how you understand the Reisha. Seifa takala v'kolan. You're right, the Seifa of the Mishnah is saying the behemoth goes b'shuk, and there's 2 points here. There's a takala and a kolin. But Reisha hakamash malon, the first part of the Mishnah, when it gives the reason that the behemoth has to be killed, it's saying that fil kolin beloy takala. It's actually saying that even in a case where there's only an embarrassment, but it did not cause the person to do the aveda, still you're going to have to kill the animal. Nami mechayvi, you'll also be chayv. And what's this case? V'heichidami Yisrael haba ala behemeh b'sheigig. In a case where a person had a relation with an animal and it was b'sheigig, so in such a case, it's considered to be a very big embarrassment for the person, but it's not a takala because he didn't do it deliberately. And the Reisha of the Mishnah is saying just the embarrassment, but even without an aveda deliberately, you're going to be chayiv as well, or you have to kill the behemoth as well. That's what the Reisha of the Mishnah was talking about. So it's not necessarily an answer to the iboya that was asked from Rav Sheshis. But now here the Gemara brings, regarding this actual case that we just said, that we could say the Mishnah is speaking about, this was another iboya that was asked. Or could the boy Rav Amnuna, as Rav Amnuna asked about this case, the boy Rav Amnuna. Rav Amnuna asked, Yisrael habala behema b'sheigig. A yid that has a relation with an animal, but it was b'sheigig. Mahu. What's the halacha here? Does the behema have to be put to death as well? Takala ve'kolim be'inon. Do I say that the behema is put to death only in a case where it caused the person to do an aveda deliberately and is an embarrassment, both? And here, the person is embarrassed about what happened. But takala leke, you can't say that there's this level of calamity that it caused the person to do an aveda b'mezid. Or koloin avapishain takala. Just the embarrassment alone that there is to the person from this animal, that's enough of a reason to kill the animal, even if there's no takala. That was the ibaya of Rav Amnuna. So we could say maybe the Ram Mishnah is speaking about this case of Rav Amnuna. Now, regarding this ibaya of Rav Amnuna, the Gemara brings now from the Mishnah Masechta Nideh to try to prove what the halacha is. So again, now the new ibaya here is in the case where a Yisrael had a relation with the behemah b'shoigig, that you have to kill the animal as well. So Rav Yosef says, Tashema, I'll bring you a raya from a Mishnah Nideh. So there the Mishnah says, Bas shalosh shana v'yoymecha, the girl that's 3 years old. So there's different halachas regarding bia, regarding anyone that has relations with her, that applies from age 3 and up. So number one, miskadeshes bibia. If her father wants to marry her off, he could be makadesher with bia. From age 3, bia with this girl is considered to be marital relations. Younger than that, it's not yet considered to be bia at all. Another halacha, yavam, a yavam, when a person dies and he has no children, and there's the mitzvah of yibum, that the brother has to marry his wife. So the relation with a 3-year-old child or girl is a act of marital relations, and kana, he acquires it with this. That's the kinyan by yavam. A third thing, v'chayavan aleh mishamesh ish. And if she gets married, she's a real eshes ish. Her husband acquires her, they're married, and therefore anyone would be chayiv for eshes ish. Or mitamez bayala. And also, if she has relations with her husband and she's a nida, and then the halacha is, Rashi brings, you learn out from ve'isha kisiya zava, there's an extra vav, that the man becomes tameh as well, he's mitame the bayal as well, latame mishkav tachton ke'elyin, that you mitame by a nida, not only what he lies on directly, but even if there's a sheet and there's different layers, even what's below becomes tameh, just like what's on the top and what he's lying on, and becomes a avatumah, mamish, like what he's lying on. And another halacha, nisis l'kayin, if she got married to a kayin, since the marriage takes effect, he acquires her fully, eicheles b'trumah. So now, like the halacha always is with a wife that married a kayin, she can eat trumah. Another halacha, ba'alel echad min ha'psulim, one of the people that are apostle had a relation with her, pasla min ha'kohuna, he apostles her from kohuna. This is the halacha of a girl. Once someone that was apostle had a relation with her, she becomes apostle to marry a kayin, to eat trumah forever. And another halacha, v'im ba'alel echad mikol ha'arayis ha'amuris b'teireh, if any of the arayis in the Torah, they came and they had a relation with her, so the bia is considered to be already an act of marital relations. Mumasan al yada, the chi of misa will apply through her to them. Now this is the case that the Gemara is focusing on to bring the raya. Now v'hi petura, she will be potter because she's still a katana, she's only 3 years old. But anybody else that had a relation with her in the isser of arayis, they will be chayiv misa. Now, in the last point, the Gemara says, Echad mikol arayis. It says over here that this girl, if any of the arayis had a relation with her, then you will kill that person. Now, that would mean not only a person, vafila behema, even a behema that had a relation with this girl, the behema would also have to be put to death. That's what it seems. Kol arayis includes even a behema. Now, over here, regarding this case, a behema that had a relation with this girl, v'hahacha the kolinike. In this case, there's a big embarrassment about this. But takala leke. You can't say that this is a takala, that there was a cause of an aveda, because she's only a katana. She doesn't know, she's not responsible for the aveda that she did. So it's similar to a shaygig, like the case of Rav Amnuna Zibaya. And the katani, it says here in this Mishnah, mumasan al yada, that you kill the ones that had a relation with her through her, which means including an animal. So from here is a raya that even by a shaygig, you have to put the animal to death. Says the Gemara, it's not the same thing. Kiv in the mizida, since if she was a mezid, or she is actually a mezid, right? She's doing this b'mezid, although she's a katana, but she's doing it b'mezid, takole nami ikke. Even though she's a katana, and she's not chayiv in mitzvahs, or the aveda, she's not responsible for this, but nevertheless, because she did do it b'mezid, it is considered to be a takole. It's considered to be an aveda that the animal caused her to do. Now, Rachmanahu the chas Allah. The Torah had Rachmanis on her and said that because she's not yet bas mitzvah, so she's not responsible, and therefore she won't get any punishment for this. Now Allah did chas. On her, the Torah has this compassion that she won't get any punishment for this because she's a ketana. However, on the animal that had a relation with her, the Torah has no rachmanis on this. So this answer of the Gemara here is very interesting, as the Mefarshim point out. It seems from what the Gemara is saying here that this whole entire concept that we say regarding a katana or a cotton that's potter from mitzvahs and is not chayev any einshim for averis, so it would seem that the pshat in that is that if they're not yet bar bas mitzvah, they have no das, they're not responsible at all, and that's why they're potter. It's not considered to be a ma'isa avera at all. But over here, the Gemara is actually saying, no, that she does it b'mezid. It's called a takola. It is called an aveda that she did. But the Torah has rachmanis because she has no das that she doesn't get the einish. But a takola it's called. That's what it seems like the Gemara is saying here regarding the actions of a cotton or a katana. Rava tries to bring a raya from that mission over there as well. This is all in Nida, similar raya and a similar refutation, the Gemara will say here. So Tashama, I'll bring you a raya from what it says there in that Mishnah regarding a boy. That from what age is the bia of a boy considered to be a bia? So Pentesha Shana v'yom echad, a boy from the age 9 and up. So over here, echad habal yevimtoi kana. Again, let me the way you read this again here. Pentesha Shana v'yom echad, that is that the Pentesha Shanim, he's 9 years old and a day. So habal yevimtoi, if he had a relation with a yavama kana, so that's considered to be a proper bia, and he will acquire the yavama. Under the age of 9, it's not an act of a bia, so he's not going to be kind of her. But veinu nice and get that she yagdal. Now, if he acquired the yavama, they're fully married. He can't do chalitza anymore. The only way to get rid of her is by giving her a get. That's only when he becomes bar mitzvah. Umetame kenida, and he becomes tame nida. If he has a relation with his wife, that's a nida. He becomes tame like a nida. Letame mishkav tachten ke'elyon, that he's metame, even something that's lower down on what he's lying, just like on what he's lying. Elyon, what's above what he's lying on. Paisel. Now, if he is a person that's pasel, he will passel a woman from marrying a kayin or from eating trumeh, but ve'enai meichel. This ben teisha shana v'yom echad, if he marries a woman, the marriage does not take effect. Because the point about this boy that's ben teisha shana v'yom echad is the bia, the act of the bia is considered to be an act of bia regarding the halachas just mentioned, but not regarding creating a real kedushin of eshes ish, because he has no power to acquire her, he has no das to acquire her. So therefore, if she's not really married to him, so a woman that marries a kohen that's not yet bar mitzvah, ein meichel, she will not eat any trumah. Upaisel es habeheme malgabe mizbeach, an animal that had a relation with this boy that's 9 years and up, so the animal becomes possible to the mizbeach, v'niskelas al yadai, and here it says clearly that the skila, that this animal has to be killed through this relation with this boy. If he has a relation with any of that ice in the Torah, then those that had a relation with him, and it's Issa Erva, they will be chayiv misa, but he is not chayiv misa because he's still a child. So here it said clearly, v'niskales al yadai. So over here in this case, just like we said before, since we're talking about a boy, so there is a big embarrassment of the relation with the animal, but the Aveda does not apply because he's still just a cotton. The Katani, and here the Mishnah clearly says, Niskelas al yadai, that the behemoth is going to get skila through him. So this is actually even more explicit than the previous raya that Rav Yosef brought. There it just said kol ha'arayis, and Rav Yosef said kol ha'arayis includes a behemoth as well. Here it says clearly that the animal that has a relation with this boy has to be put to death. So if so, the Gemara is saying you can prove the same thing for what Rav Amnuna said, that a behemoth that has a relation with a person that's a shaygig should also be put to death. So the Gemara says again the same answer. Kivin de mezidu. By this boy, what he did was done b'mezid. So take, he's a boy, he's not yet bar mitzvah, so he's not responsible for it. But it was done b'mezid. So therefore it is considered to be an aveda. It's not just an embarrassment, it's an aveda as well. But v'rachmanu dechasil aved. The Torah has compassion on him, and therefore the Torah says that he's not going to be chayav the punishment. So alei didei chas rachmana. On this boy, the Torah has rachmanas. But on the behemoth that had a relation with him, and there's no rachmanis, it's an embarrassment, and it's a takola, and therefore the behemoth has to be put to death. So there's no raya to the shaila of Rav Amnuna regarding a case of a shaygig in the relation with a behemoth b'shaygig. So now the Gemara, the last thing here, the Gemara brings our Mishnah that was quoted before, and it says the reverse of the raya that the Gemara brought before when it was speaking about the iboya of Rav Sheshes. So Toshema, I'll bring you a raya to the iboya of Rav Amnuna. So the Mishnah, again, so what did it say in the Mishnah? In the first pshat, the Mishnah said the reason why a behemoth has to be put to death. So it seems like the Mishnah is saying because it's just a takola. Or here, let's see how the Gemara explains this. But then the Mishnah brings davar acher, Another pshat, why do we put the animal to death? So this behemoth shouldn't walk in the street, and people are going to say, this is the individual that so-and-so was killed through this animal. So now what is the Sefer saying? My love, don't you think the pshat here is, mid the Sefer, in this expression of the reason that it says in the Sefer, takala v'kolin. It's saying that when you see this behemoth in the street, you see the behemoth that caused the Aveda, and you also see the embarrassment. And that's why it has to be put to death, because there's two reasons here. So Reisha, in the first reason that the Mishnah said, that you have to put the behemoth to death, so it's kolin. What it's saying is, even if it's just a cause for embarrassment, even without a takal, even without causing an aveda, you should also have to put the behemoth to death. And now what's this case? This would be a raya to Rav Amnuna zibaya. Ve'echidami Yisrael habal behemoth b'shoigig. This is the case of the Yisrael that had a relation with the behemoth b'shoigig, where there's no takal, there was no aveda b'mezid, but there's still an embarrassment, and therefore you have to put it to death. So the Gemara says there's no raya because we could say loi seife takala v'kolin. The second reason the Mishnah gives, the davar acha of the Mishnah, is saying that the behemoth has to be killed because of both reasons, the takala and the embarrassment. Reisha, then the first reason the Mishnah said that you have to put the behemoth to death, takala b'loi kolin. There it's saying that it's just the takala itself without any embarrassment. That's why it has to be put to death. The emphasis it's mefurish in the Mishnah like this. I mean, the first reason the Mishnah says lefisha ba la'adam takala al yada. That's the lashon of the Mishnah. Before the Gemara wanted to say that it means just a kolain, but here the pshat the Gemara is saying now that's mamish in the lashon of the Mishnah. That even in a case where it's just a takala, you have to kill the animal. And when is that? V'heichidami. When is that? It's not in the case where it's a Yisrael that had a relation with an animal b'sheigig, but rather it could be the case that we were discussing before, which was Rav Shesh's ibaya, and that's oivid kechavim. In a case of a goy habala behemah that had a relation with an animal, could be Rav Shesh's. That was the shaila they asked from Rav Shesh's. In that case, it's considered to be a takala, but not a kolin. Because for a guy, it's not. There's no embarrassment involved in this. So therefore, that's the case of the Mishnah, and it's not necessarily a raya to the ibaya of Rav Amnuna.